Part 1.
You will hear a phone conversation between two people, Kathy and John. John is hoping to volunteer at a retirement home. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 10.
Hello, Hillary Lodge Retirement Home. Kathy speaking.
Hello, my name's John Shepherd. Could I ask if you're the manager of the home?
That's right.
Oh, good. Hello, Kathy. A friend of mine is a volunteer at Hillary Lodge, and I'd like to help out too, if you need more people. I work part-time, so I have quite a lot of free time.
We're always glad of more help, John. Shall I tell you about some of the activities that volunteers get involved in?
Please.
Well, on Monday evenings, we organise computer training. We've got 6 laptops and 5 or 6 residents come to the sessions regularly. They're all now fine at writing and sending emails, but our trainer has just moved away, and we need 2 or 3 volunteers who can help the residents create documents. Just simple things, really.
I'd certainly be interested in doing that.
Great! Then on Tuesday afternoons, we have an informal singing class, which most of the residents attend. We've got a keyboard and someone who plays, but if you'd like to join in the singing, you'd be very welcome.
I work on Tuesdays at the moment, though that might change. I'll have to give it a miss for now, I'm afraid.
OK. Then on Thursday mornings, we generally have a session in our garden. Several of our residents enjoy learning about flowers, where they grow best, how to look after them and so on. Is that something you're keen on?
I'm no expert, but I enjoy gardening, so yes, I'd like to get involved. Do you have your own tools at the home?
We've got a few, but not very many.
I could bring some in with me when I come.
Thank you very much. One very important thing for volunteers is that we hold a monthly meeting where they all get together with the staff. It's a chance to make sure we're working well together and that everyone knows how the residents are and what's going on in the home.
Uh-huh.
Now, obviously, we'd need to get to know you before you become one of our volunteers.
Of course.
Could you come in for an informal interview later this week, maybe?
I'm busy the next couple of days, but would Saturday be possible?
Certainly. Just drop in any time during the day. I won't be working then, so you'll see my assistant, Mairead.
Sorry, how do you spell that?
It's M-A-I-R-E-A-D. Mairead.
OK, got that. It's not a name I'm familiar with.
Oh, it's an Irish name. She comes from Dublin.
Right. And the road that Hillary Lodge is in is called Bridge Road, isn't it?
That's right. Number 73.
Fine.
Oh, one other thing you might be interested in. We're holding a couple of open house days and still need a few volunteers if you're available.
What are the dates?
There's one on April the 9th and another on the 14th of May. They're both Saturdays and all-day events.
I can certainly manage May the 14th. I've got another commitment on April the 9th, though.
That would be a great help. We're having several guest entertainers, singers, a brass band and so on, and we're expecting a lot of visitors. So one possibility is to help look after the entertainers. Or you could spend an hour or so organising people as they arrive, and then just be part of the team, making sure everything's going smoothly.
Well, shall I show people where they can park?
Lovely. Thank you. One reason for holding the open house days is to get publicity for Hillary Lodge locally. So you may find you have someone from a newspaper wanting to interview you. They'll want to find out from 2 or 3 people why they volunteer to help at the home. We're trying to get a TV station to come too, but they don't seem very interested.
I don't mind being interviewed.
Good. Well, if you come in for a chat, as we arranged, we'll take it from there. Thank you very much for calling.
My pleasure. Goodbye.
Bye.
That is the end of part 1.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 2.
Part 2.
You will hear the head of a centre which offers evening classes for adults. She is explaining some recent changes which have been made to the centre. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 15.
Hello. As some of you know, I'm Elaine Marriott, the head of the college's Learning Resource Centre. We've invited all of you taking evening classes and leisure activities to come and see the changes we've made to the centre in the last month. One major change we've made here on the ground floor is to the layout, as you can see from looking around you. I'm sure you'll recognise the desk. That's still in the same place, as it has to be just inside the door. But you'll see that there are now periodicals on the shelves in the corner behind the desk. We've brought them nearer the entrance because so many people like to come in just to read magazines. We now stock a far wider range of periodicals than we used to, so we've decided to separate them from newspapers. This means the newspapers are now just the other side of the stairs, near the study area. Now, another thing is that we've brought the computers downstairs. People used to complain about having to go upstairs to use them. So they're now at the far side of the building on the right, in the corner overlooking the car park. We've now got an extra photocopier. So as well as the one upstairs, there's one down here. You can see it right opposite the entrance, by the wall on the far side. The biggest change, though, and one I'm sure many of you will welcome, is that we now have a cafe at last. We've been asking for one for years. If you turn right, as soon as you get past the desk, you'll see the door ahead of you. It became possible to have a cafe because the building has been extended, and we've now got a new office and storeroom area. What else should I tell you about before we walk round? Oh yes, we've had so many requests for books on sport that we've bought a lot more, and they're all together immediately to the right of the entrance.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you will have some time to look at the questions 16 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 16 to 20.
OK, that's enough on the new layout. We'll walk round in a moment, but before we do, something about the people who are here to help you. Of course, all the staff will do their best to answer your questions, but now we're each going to specialise in certain areas. So, if you ask a staff member about something and they don't think they can help you enough, they'll direct you to our specialist. Jenny Reed is the person to see if there are any films you'd like us to stock, as she's taken over responsibility for purchasing those. I'd better warn you that our budget is limited, so I'm afraid we can't promise to buy everything you ask for. Phil Penshurst can help you to improve your writing if you need to produce reports for your course. You can book a half-hour session with Phil to start with. Then, if you want more help, he'll arrange follow-up sessions with you. I must mention Tom Salisbury. Many people are interested in doing research or just reading about this region. The people, occupations, changes over the years and so on. Tom is a specialist in this particular field, so if you want any help, he can point you in the right direction. We've got a large collection of relevant documents, from old maps to studies of the wildlife. We have a new member of staff, Saeed Akhtar. I'm sure you'll meet him soon and will find him very helpful. If you're unemployed and want some advice on the practical aspects of looking for a job, Saeed is the person to talk to. He's also written a very useful book on the subject, which of course we've got on our shelves. Many of you will know Shilpa Desai, who's been working here for about 5 years. Shilpa now has the additional responsibility of giving information and advice on anything to do with housing, such as finding out what's available or whether you're eligible for financial help. Right, well, that's quite enough from me, so let's walk round the library.
That is the end of part 2.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 3.
Part 3.
Before you listen to the audio, check questions 21 to 27.
Thanks everyone for coming along. Today I am going to talk about a star in our kitchen, the induction cooker. How many of you have it in your home? Please raise your hands.
Everyone, I guess.
Yeah, almost everyone. Can you please tell me what you find most interesting about it?
It cooks really fast.
I find it amazing that the pot doesn't get hot even when the water in it is boiling.
Okay, I'll cover both your points in my talk. That is, how it cooks so fast and why the pot isn't heated. I'll also talk about the energy efficiency of this wonderful gadget, but first, let's see how it works. All electrical machines like motors or generators lose heat through something that is technically known as magnetic hysteresis or eddy current loss. In fact, a big challenge for electrical engineers is to reduce this loss. But in induction heating, they multiply the eddy current loss to generate more heat. If you look at the schematic diagram on this slide, you'll see that the main part of an induction heater is a specially designed induction coil. You know what a coil looks like. Can you point it out on the diagram?
The bottom half of the diagram at the center.
And where do you see the main power supply circuit?
Right underneath the coil.
Right. And the cooling system?
At the bottom right corner is a fan. I guess that's what you're looking for.
Absolutely. Where do you see the control and timer circuit?
Top right.
And top left is the ceramic cooktop. The device has a high-frequency oscillator too, but you don't see it in the diagram.
Before you listen to the rest of the audio, check questions 28 to 30.
The electromagnetic coil is just under the ceramic plate on which we place the cooking pot. It produces a strong, high-frequency electromagnetic field. Whenever a pot made of a magnetic material like iron is placed over this coil, a high-frequency magnetic field passes through the pot and generates heat in the substance kept within the pot, thanks to the eddy current loss. And this is the reason why the pot doesn't get heated. Rather, it becomes a part of the heating equipment. In conventional electric or gas stoves, heat is first transferred to the pot through contact or proximity, and then it passes on to the food. In the process, a significant part of the heat energy is lost. But nothing is lost in the universe. The so-called lost energy just makes the environment hotter. According to a technical document published in 2001 by the US Department of Energy, DOE, the efficiency of energy transfer for an induction cooker is 84%, as against 74% for a smooth-top, non-induction electrical unit. This translates to approximately 12% saving in energy for the same amount of heat transfer. However, independent tests conducted by research labs show that the actual efficiency of induction cookers is usually between 74% and 77%, and it occasionally reaches 81%. Therefore, the 84% induction efficiency reference value should be taken with caution. In comparison and in agreement with the DOE findings, cooking with gas has an average energy efficiency of about 40%. So, for environmental considerations, induction heaters are preferable to gas burners. However, does it mean that all induction cookers are equally environment friendly? The answer is an emphatic no, because the ultimate environmental impact of any stove doesn't depend on the units of electricity it consumes, but on the environmental cost of producing those units of electricity. Electricity itself is produced in many different ways, and every plant contributes to global warming differently. For example, solar or wind electricity does not produce any greenhouse gases at all. Therefore, if you ran your induction heater with solar power, you wouldn't harm the environment at all. However, coal-fired electricity generators are one of the biggest producers of carbon dioxide, the most common greenhouse gas. And among these plants, different ones operate at different efficiency levels. It has been calculated that if the plant emits less than 435 grams of CO2 per kilowatt hour, the greenhouse effect of an induction cooker will be lower than that of a gas cooker.
That is the end of part 3.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to Part 4.
Part 4.
Before you listen to the audio, read questions 31 to 40.
Kepler mission. The centuries-old quest for other worlds like our Earth has been rejuvenated by the intense excitement and popular interest surrounding the discovery of hundreds of planets orbiting other stars. There is now clear evidence for substantial numbers of three types of exoplanets: gas giants, hot super-Earths, in short-period orbits, and ice giants. The challenge now is to find terrestrial planets, that is, those 1/2 to twice the size of the Earth, especially those in the habitable zone of their stars, where liquid water might exist on the surface of the planet. The Kepler mission is specifically designed to survey our region of the Milky Way galaxy to discover hundreds of Earth-size and smaller planets in or near the habitable zone and determine the fraction of the hundreds of billions of stars in our galaxy that might have such planets. So, what exactly is Kepler? Kepler is a space telescope that measures the dimming of stars as planets pass in front of them, blocking just a little bit of that light from reaching us. Named after astronomer Johannes Kepler, the spacecraft was launched on March 7, 2009, into an Earth-trailing heliocentric orbit. Kepler's data reveals planet sizes as well as their distance from their parent star, like our Sun. Together, this helps astronomers to understand whether these planets are small and rocky, like the terrestrial planets in our own solar system, or how much light they receive from their parent star. In turn, this provides clues as to whether these planets that we discover might be habitable or not. Objectives of the mission. The scientific objective of the Kepler mission is to explore the structure and diversity of planetary systems. This is achieved by surveying a large sample of stars to determine the percentage of terrestrial and larger planets that are in or near the habitable zone of a wide variety of stars, determine the distribution of sizes and shapes of the orbits of these planets, estimate how many planets there are in multiple star systems, determine the variety of orbit sizes and planet reflectivities, sizes, masses and densities of short-period giant planets. Identify additional members of each discovered planetary system using other techniques. Determine the properties of those stars that harbour planetary systems. Transit method. When a planet passes in front of a star as viewed from Earth, the event is called a transit. On Earth, we can observe an occasional Venus or Mercury transit. These events are seen as a small black dot creeping across the Sun. Venus or Mercury blocks sunlight as the planet moves between the Sun and us. Kepler finds planets by looking for tiny dips in the brightness of a star when a planet crosses in front of it. We say the planet transits the star. Once detected, the planet's orbital size can be calculated from the period, how long it takes the planet to orbit once around the star, and the mass of the star using Kepler's third law of planetary motion. The size of the planet is found from the depth of the transit, how much the brightness of the star drops, and the size of the star. From the orbital size and the temperature of the star, the planet's characteristic temperature can be calculated. From this, the question of whether or not the planet is habitable, not necessarily inhabited, can be answered. Target field of view. Since transits only last a fraction of a day, all the stars must be monitored continuously. That is, their brightness must be measured at least once every few hours. The ability to continuously view the stars being monitored dictates that the field of view, FOV, must never be blocked at any time during the year. Therefore, to avoid the sun, the FOV must be out of the ecliptic plane. The secondary requirement is that the FOV have the largest possible number of stars. This leads to the selection of a region in the Cygnus and Lyra constellations of our galaxy as areas of study. Kepler's second mission, K2. The loss of a second of the 4 reaction wheels on board the Kepler spacecraft in May 2013 brought an end to Kepler's 4-year science mission to continuously monitor more than 150,000 stars to search for transiting exoplanets. Developed over the months following this failure, the K2 mission represents a new concept for spacecraft operations that enables continued scientific observations with the Kepler Space Telescope. K2 became fully operational in May 2014 and is expected to continue operating until 2017 or 2018. Using the transit method to detect brightness changes, the K2 mission entails a series of sequential observing campaigns of fields distributed around the ecliptic plane and offers a photometric precision approaching that of the original Kepler mission. Operating in the ecliptic plane minimizes the torque exerted on the spacecraft by solar wind pressure, reducing pointing drift to the point where spacecraft attitude can effectively be controlled through a combination of thrusters and the 2 remaining reaction wheels. Each campaign is therefore limited by sun angle constraints to a duration of approximately 80 days.
That is the end of part 4.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.